two-part documentary delves into the world of Irish dance and experiences the extreme discipline and dedication it takes to be part of this growing global sport. As we journey with dancers from Ireland, England and America, we look beyond the fake tan and wigs.
I think it looks ridiculous.
We also witness the highs and lows of each competitor as they battle it out to be the best.
The world title is everything in Irish dancing. I have so much pressure to retain the title. I don't want to lose it.
Although it was originally founded by the Gaelic League in 1883, the touring shows are to be thanked for bringing Irish dancing to the world stage. They gave it a new lease of life and created a worldwide phenomenon.
Irish dancing wasn't the coolest thing to do, and it was often the butt of jokes. Some people thought it was great because it was Irish, and then some people just thought it was ridiculous. Why would you want to do that? I think Riverdance changed that by bringing it to a world stage and by Irish people seeing that the outside world thought this was something cool. I think it possibly gave Irish people the confidence to say, yeah, it is actually cool and it is something we should be proud of.
Riverdance did manage to make Irish dancing something that those who would never buy into folk culture then find themselves actually appreciating.
It took the whole world by storm. And I knew in my heart and soul then, this is it. This is where we're going. This is the way.
I was part of that original performance of Riverdance, and none of us were prepared for the reaction, both in Ireland and around the world.
We travel around the world during the day. At night time, they get 4 and 5 standing ovations. They get to live their life through that dance that they worked so hard for. I like that. To me, that means something.
City West welcomes the 2011 Irish Dancing World Championships back to Dublin for the first time in 15 years. Throughout the Worlds, City West will see over 40,000 spectators pass through the doors of their state-of-the-art convention centre.
One of the most outward changes that's visible to us is the whole notion of the World Championships, which moved from like Kalash to where it could be housed in a school in Dublin, to now not only being housed in Ireland, but also being housed overseas, attracting thousands of competitors. It's become an entire, 10-day festival. And people are still buying into it, and they're preparing it for the whole year.
When I won the Worlds was back in '75, and it was at the Mansion House, and it was a very prestigious event. It was a beautiful event. It was a completely different sort of a competition those days. It was much smaller. It's much bigger now and much more glamorous.
In the run-up to the opening ceremony, the year-long planning process is aided by intense labour and attention to detail. With workers from all over the country pitching in, everyone plays a part in making the main event happen. Practising for this year's Worlds is 12-year-old Jack Quinn. The Dublin-based dancer has seen a string of successes since he began Irish dancing at the age of 6.
He came home one day and said he just wanted to start Irish dancing. And I kind of thought, oh, fine, yeah, it'll be a bit of, do it for a while. Didn't know what he was getting involved in or what that he'd be so interested and so good.
Being from a football background, I thought well, not strange, but it was going to be different, and didn't know how to handle it in the start because, at that time I wouldn't have seen it as a man's thing or a boy's thing to do.
Hand in, hand in!
My opinion has changed on it now because I see how passionate he is about the sport. What really sunk it home to me was his confirmation day here. We had a party in the house and friends around. Come 7 o'clock in the evening, he was gone off to do his dancing and he was away for 2 hours. The party was in full swing, but his party, but he wanted to practice for his dancing and that was it, so he's very happy with it.
To begin with, Jack danced once weekly during school time. Since then, he has joined the O'Shea School of Irish Dancing and trains 7 days a week.
Jack is a very driven kid. He's enthusiastic. He absolutely loves his dancing. He's prepared to put a huge amount of effort into it, and he's prepared to take all kinds of correction.
You never have to push him into anything. He just has the enthusiasm to do it.
He has a great love for dancing, and I think that's the most important thing as far as we're concerned.
I wanted to become an Irish dancer because I saw my cousin dancing at a festival. When I saw her dancing that night, I just kind of really wanted to do it myself. I thought it was really cool.
The first feis, I brought him to, it was lots of screaming and shouting and a kind of chaos, and I sat there being very cynical as I didn't know anything about it, and turned around to people beside me and said, this is a bit over the top. But then Jack got up and danced, and I ended up winning, and I was as bad as everybody else.
I was surprised I did well, especially because it was my first feis, because I think I didn't realise what was going on. I was so young.
To be a competitive dancer in this day and age, you have to have 100% complete commitment.
A top champion dancer would probably practice anywhere from an hour to 2 hours a day, especially on the days where they don't have a class.
The standard of today's dancer is supreme.
Sometimes I get up early to practice.
He practices every day practically, like, you know, for an hour, 2 hours every day, maybe more.
I don't think he can practice too much.
Coming up to major championships, if they want to do extra classes, we do extra classes with them. And that could maybe be 4 nights a week, or maybe 3 nights in one afternoon. It depends on the dancer and depends how much commitment they have. Any of the dancers who want to do really well, they have to be very committed and they have to work really, really hard.
It's all about commitment, really. You know, if you're going to do anything, you need to do it fully, and you need to engage yourself completely in it, and that's never more true as in the case of Irish dancing.
I get very excited the day of competitions. I just kind of, I just really want to get there to the competition and just be there, and then I kind of settle a bit.
As a practice before the World Championships, Jack goes to a local feis in Tyrrellstown, County Dublin.
Today it was great. My teachers thought I danced really well and I felt really good about it, so really happy.
The winner of the Boys Championship 12 to 13 is number 150, Jack Quinn from Scuddering.
My first Worlds were in Philadelphia in 2009 and I was 10 years of age. I'd known from the All-Irelands that it would be big, but I still wasn't sure what it would be like. I walked out on the stage and it was absolutely huge, and I just kind of, I was a bit shocked at how big it was. Coming second was a really, really good experience.
Irish step dancing is not an easy dance style to master.
It is now probably the most intricate footwork of all dancing in the whole world.
It takes an enormous amount of dedication, self-discipline. It takes a lot of money to go to dance lessons over and over and over. You have to support people, you have to support what you're doing, and what better investment than your children?
4 times world champion is Galway girl Claire Greeny. Despite her history proving Claire's a tough contender to beat, she trains every day in order to retain her title as world champion.
I was definitely 9 or 10 before I actually realised that I had a talent to work with. But for a long time it was just something I did every week because I absolutely loved it and adored it.
I was blown away by her, really, just how natural she was.
1, 2, 3, 4, stop.
Yeah, you're not wrong enough.
Yeah, do it again.
When you're looking at dancers, you know if somebody has the feet, they have the courage, the timing. Yeah, we knew from the start.
It's very rare to see a talent like that, I think. Yeah, it was so natural and very unusual.
She was definitely the motivator behind herself. I would have been content enough with her taking part in it. I had no definite ambitions for her to be, you know, a star in the Irish dancing. And I thought it would be a nice hobby for her, but I certainly at the time never envisaged the heights that she would take it to.
I think it was kind of when I was 16 or 17 really that I really started pushing myself, thinking, no, I'm not happy. If I'm going to finish dancing, I need to have a Worlds behind me. I just totally went back to basics and said, right, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it now. I've won every World since, so I kind of just think it clicked in my head and I've never looked back, really.
And you have to consider, do you really need 4?
You don't really need
I don't think
What are you that needs 4? It definitely takes talent to be at the very top, raw talent combined with hours and hours of work and determination. And what we mean by work is like real intense work where it's the attention to detail that makes the difference between, you know, that makes a champion really.
You have to have that ability that on the day, on the biggest stage, that's where you shine. That's where like the going gets tough, the tough get going basically. You have to have that ability. Because some kids, you know, they're brilliant in class, but they can't transfer it. But Claire has that. She has nerves of steel.
A lot of people say I'm a risk taker. I think it's just because I like to do that extra spin or an extra hop on the toe or anything like that. Like, just, I think it's, Gemma would often say that I'm fearless. If I want to try something, I'll keep trying it until I physically know it's impossible. If I fall, sure, all you can do is hit the floor, you get back up and do it again.
It takes huge discipline to get where Claire has got. I mean, she has sacrificed so much. She puts in hours and hours. As she says herself, it's her life, it's everything. She just loves Irish dancing. But it's passion with her. You know, it's something she really feels, and she's willing to put in the hours and hours and hours and really work hard. You get to that stage and you just want to, you don't want to give it up. That's why she works so hard.
Okay, so 3 spins.
Okay.
3 positions. Decision made. That's it now. We're not going back to 4.
The world title is everything in Irish dancing. Like, it's not even the title, but just the world championships themselves for a lot of people. It's a lot of dancers' dreams just to make it to the Worlds and to compete at the Worlds no matter what. For other people, the world title is everything. There's no money involved, but it's just the kind of prestige of having that world title and knowing that if you have that title that people consider you the best in the world. That's just, it's enough really. When you have that title, no matter what, no money or anything is needed really. Just to have that title is amazing.
Young dancers have to give up everything, you know, and you're talking about 3-4 classes a week, afternoons on a Saturday. Their social life is really curtailed. And while it's a good thing, I think, to have, you know, kids are busy, they do have to make a lot of sacrifices, and it's the kids that make those sacrifices. They're the ones that usually come to the top, you know, if they have the talent to back it up.
You lost a bit of your line, kind of. Yeah. You veered a bit.
A lot of my friends or whatever in college could be going out every night or just having a bit of fun or going places, and for me, I can't do that because I might have an assignment due, and because of dancing, you have less time to do the assignment, and you might have class or anything like that. So you do kind of lose out a little bit, and I kind of feel that sometimes I do lose out in the fun. But, I mean, it's a choice I've taken, and I know that if I want to get where I want to be with Irish dancing, you do have to take these sacrifices, so I don't regret it at all.
After the break, what's behind the fake tan, mounds of makeup and big wigs?
Fake tan has nothing to do with dancing. I think it looks ridiculous.
Many moons ago, dresses were made from heavy material which were made to last for up to 8 years. Unlike then, the finish on dresses these days are far from simple embroidered designs and carefully crocheted collars. Today, a dress is not complete without eye-catching colours and Swarovski crystals.
When it comes to competitive Irish dancing and how they dress, that all comes down to being a winner and standing out.
They are now wearing a kind of short and lightweight material costumes.
The cost of an Irish dance costume can vary greatly depending on the style, the fabrics used, and then how much bling or rhinestones are used to accessorise the dress. So they can vary in cost anywhere from €1,000 up, and the sky really is the limit. It's best to compare an Irish dancing costume with a wedding dress, except for the fact that the dancer gets to wear the dress a lot more often than the bride hopefully gets to wear hers. But it is a bespoke dress. It is made for that individual, handmade to their measurements and to their requirements by way of colour, fabric and finish. So there's a lot of work and time goes into the dresses. Therefore, it's inevitable the price is going to be quite high.
I change my dress every year for the Worlds. For me, the fit is probably one of the most important because there's nothing better than a dress that fits a dancer really well.
It seems to me that it's ridiculously expensive because, as you know, as you get better and better, you have to be seen to be in the right gear. So say if it's a girl, there's probably a dress, or somebody who makes dresses, you have to have that person's dress. You can't be seen in anything less. And they usually cost an awful lot.
What tends to happen from year to year is if the majority of world champions in that year are wearing a dress by a particular company, then that becomes the de rigueur dress or company to go to. It comes from talk amongst the dancers, talk amongst the parents, talk amongst the teachers, and people will talk about owning a Gavin, which is almost like owning a Gucci.
Creator of the Gavin is Belfast-based Gavin Doherty. After designing dresses since the age of 10, Gavin opened Air Designs in '99 and since then has seen many changes in the fit and finish of a dress.
In recent years, a lot of the dressmakers we kind of got together and took it all back a step, back to velvets and traditional Celtic design. There still is a lot of sequins and rhinestones, etc., on the costumes, but it got to the point where there was feather and fur and everything else. People that haven't been involved in dancing for a long time will look in it and think it's, you know, it's ridiculous and whatever else. But the way the costumes are today just didn't happen overnight. It has been a progression from, you know, 20, 30 years. Things have only evolved because of what is available out there, and I'm sure if 30 years ago they had what we had, the fabrics and stones and everything else that we have today, I'm sure they would have been covered in them.
Although recent years have brought a change in design, the original methods of making a dress are still followed today. UK-based Maureen McHugh is one of the few independent dress designers who works full-time making Irish dancing costumes.
And the main difference in modern costumes is the weight of them. The old costumes used to be so heavy that it was difficult for the dancers. I think the moves that the dancers have to do now, they need a lighter costume. And I think they're more fashion-led now, where in years gone by, dresses stayed the same for 10, 20 years. One dress would look the same as the next, never be out of date. Whereas now, I think things go out of date very quickly. Costumes can look a little too trendy. Having said that, it's a fashion, so in 6 months' time, it will change. So what's fashionable today, maybe leopard print or bows, 6 months down the line that will change to something else.
We only do what people ask us to do. It's whatever really is on the catwalk is what we can use, and that's why styles and types of dresses do change. It just keeps us all on our toes. This year's trend up until now has been sort of the asymmetrical designs, sort of half and half styles. Now before the world, with a few new ideas of just sort of an all-white dress with stones on it, and we're going to try and see how that's going to take. Hopefully it will work.
There is a common misperception that the dancer needs the most outrageous or the most standout dress to do well in competition, and that really has little or nothing to do with how they're going to place at the end of the day.
A costume is not going to win your world championships if you don't have the dancing to go with it.
An adjudicator is going to adjudicate based on the dancing, not the dress. However, human nature being what it is, when an adjudicator looks up at a stage, if there's 3 dancers standing in front of them, something's going to catch their eye.
It's not only the look, it's the way the child feels when they get a brand new dress, they're going out on stage to perform. It all adds to that, you know, that mental thing.
The dress does add to your confidence, especially when you're wearing it for the first time and that it's a dress that you love. For me, when I have the dress on, I'm a different person. When I walk out on stage in a dress, I'm walking out as a performer, and you're waiting for everybody to look and be like, oh my God, her dress is amazing. And it does give you a lift because you kind of feel everybody's looking at you and admiring what you're wearing and how you look.
It's a little bit like the fashion season for each year. So it has developed in that. It also has developed in terms of cost, though. And people, for some reason, are very willing to embrace, they want the very best for their children. I suppose that's where it comes from. And they will do whatever it takes, you know, to put them up there and to have them well presented.
I think my main selling point is price. The most a dancer would pay if they wanted to come to me for a costume would be £1,200, would be probably the maximum.
The price of our dresses for a small class costume would start at £350 right up to £1,400 for the top level sort of World Championship standard costume. It's £1,400, probably around about €1,550. Fabrics can cost anything from £5 a yard up to £120 a yard. Some of it comes from Thailand, some of it comes from the States. A lot of the times I will go to New York and go around the fashion district. When you hear the price of a dress, there's a lot of things other than embroidery and fabric that are going into it. There is a lot of time and effort as well. Most people will maybe pick a colour or a rough idea, and then we have a lot of people that will just send over a picture and say, this is my child, do whatever you think, we trust your judgment. And you know, for me, that's a lot of the time that's the easiest way, because there's no limitation to what you can do.
I'll have a new dress for the Worlds this year. I have no idea what colour it's going to be. I don't want to know. But at the minute I'm in a black and green dress. I'm hoping Gavin will take me out of a green dress again, because I feel it's very predictable on a red head. I loved being in my kind of coppery and bronzy colours because it's very unpredictable, but yet there's really good colours on me, so I have no idea what he's going to do, but sure, I have no doubt I'll love it when I get it. Each
dress is handmade and it's an individual garment. It's really difficult to say how long each dress makes. I mean, we could have 2 bodices, exactly the same fabric, exactly the same everything. You might sit on the machine, starts to run the thread, might start breaking every 2. It's really difficult to say.
The dresses do play an important part in the presentation of an Irish dancer, but without the use of makeup and tan, the look is incomplete.
I find it really insulting when people try to compare Irish dancing to beauty pageants. I mean, in a beauty pageant there's not much skill involved.
It is a little annoying in a way. Like, I have absolutely no problem with beauty pageants. If that's what they like, that's what they do. I mean, who are we to judge? What is annoying is that people compare it because of the whole beauty part. In terms of Irish dancing, makeup and wig and costume and everything is literally for first impressions. It's like your result has nothing to do with how you look. It's about your talent and it's about the technique that you're doing on stage. It's all about the performance. Whereas beauty pageants, it is basically based on who has the prettiest smile and who has the prettiest walk.
Dancers wear makeup for the lights. As you know, lights drain your colour. And that, I think, is initially where the makeup came from. Unfortunately, some parents just don't know how to put makeup on, or wigs, or tan.
Makeup wasn't a part of dancing like when I was young, or my sisters, or any of the dancers like in our class. Because I don't think they had money for ice cream cones, you know, not to mind to say makeup.
A lot of the progression in both costume and makeup, overall style, for the female dancers especially, has come from society in general.
Fake tan has nothing to do with dancing. It's to do with kind of a culture that we have in Ireland that we don't think pasty white is attractive in any way. The irony of the whole thing is they all want to stand out, but they all end up looking exactly the same. So I have met dancers and they were like, do you not know who I am? And I'm like, all I see is this Barbie doll in front of me, because they look unrecognisable, dolled up with their wigs and stuff on. So I don't think it's a good idea, but like, it's like that because it's kind of developed that way. I'm not defending it. Like, let me put it on the record. I think it looks ridiculous. But the reality is, it happens wherever you go.
People are so quick to judge and are kind of judging Irish dancing more like judging a book by its cover, not really taking the time to get past the exterior of it and getting into actually understanding what we do and that, like, the work that goes into what we do.
These kids that are in Irish dancing are in Irish dancing for the love of it, and I mean, they're training 4 or 5 hours a day. The amount of skill involved in that is comparable to an Olympic athlete. So to have someone compare it to a child standing and is being judged on how they look, it's nowhere near the same.
Still to come, we meet more of the teachers involved, who go from strict to nightmare.
Arms, Kelsey, up, up! Come on, lift it up the back!
The amount of interest in Irish dancing now is phenomenal.
Irish dancing is recognised now the world over.
It's no longer just restricted to where Irish people go or where English language is spoken.
It's mind-boggling, both the size, the scale of the feis, the size of it, and the geographical spread of the Irish dancing.
You now have Irish dance classes happening in Japan, happening in Russia, happening in China. Happening in lots of countries throughout Europe.
Certainly you'd expect it in Australia and North America because there are Irish diaspora there, but these are places that really probably didn't know much about Ireland or may not have even been able to point it out in a globe before River Dance came along.
Internationally, it made people aware of Irish dance first and foremost, which then allowed them to take an interest and learn.
It's kind of exciting for us that people celebrate our dance all over the world.
I think the standard is high now worldwide, globally. Certainly in Lord of the Dance now, we have, in my latest show, I've got great dancers from Hungarians, I've got Russians, Germans, Poles, really from everywhere. From obviously New Zealand, Australia, Canada, England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales. We have them from everywhere, and the standard is really high.
People who don't have Irish ancestry or Irish background, there's probably 2 reasons why they would go to Irish dance. One is that they've just fallen in love with it as a dance form and they really want to learn it. And the other is that they have fallen in love with Ireland as a country, as a culture, and the Irish dancing is part of that. Or quite often I meet people, and especially more of the adult dancers, that they've seen either Riverdance, Lord of the Dance, decided they wanted to learn Irish dancing, and they go back to the roots of the culture. And they examine the culture, and they get familiar with the music, with the literature, and with the history of the country in general. And sometimes it can be almost embarrassing how much these non-Irish people know about our culture compared to how much some Irish people know about our culture.
For me, I loved Irish dance because it was, the men, it was such a masculine dance. It was so rhythmic and percussive and powerful, and you could do with it what you wanted. And it was nobody else's. It's completely different and unique. It's not like any other form of dance in the world, and I love that. And so anybody who has that rhythm, that Celtic rhythm in them, this is a great way to express that. But you know, they'll find it if it's fate. They'll find it if they're meant to.
In the run-up to the Irish Dancing World Championships, we see the evidence of exactly how widespread this growing global sport is. In Dublin, Carol Drake and his school of dancers arrive ahead of the world's.
How are you?
Welcome home.
It's great to be home. It's great to be here with all my dancers. It's actually the first time for a lot of them to be here, and it's the first time for a lot of them to be in Dublin. Some of them probably don't actually even know how exciting it's going to be for them, and I think after the 8 hours of the flight they're probably exhausted, but they'll snap into things, I think, very fast.
Originally from Dublin, Carl moved stateside at the age of 17.
Come on, everybody follow me for a minute, OK? Isabel, are you awake?
4 years later, he furthered his plans to live the American dream and opened the first Irish dancing school in Atlanta, Georgia.
It really is fabulous. Is everybody on?
In preparation for the World Championships, Carl gathers his dancers for an intense training session.
Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Tired is not in our vocabulary. We are not allowed to be tired. 99, 100. Awesome, girls. My world totally revolves around Irish dancing. From the time I wake up in the morning until the time I go to bed, and sometimes actually during the night I'm still thinking about Irish dancing. Come on, lift it up the back! I actually started off with 12 dancers in Atlanta, and currently I think I'm up to about over 1,000 dancers. Irish dancing is very, very popular. There's actually dancing in every state in the US. He's crossing! I feel the standard of dancing in the US is similar to the standard in Ireland. The Americans work very, very hard at what they do. Up, up! Arms, Cassie, up! Actually, they attend classes 4 and 5 days a week now. In the southern states, it's very difficult to compete as much as in New York. Most of my kids actually have to fly to all the fetches. We don't have the availability of them close by. If we were to attend a fetch, it could be a 10-hour drive. Sometimes it's a 3.5-hour flight for them. We're actually now trying to compete at least once a month. Put your shoulders back and straighten up. Come on, Justin. Turn it out. Come on. I actually have 23 kids here competing at the World Championships. Most of the kids are here for the first time.
I don't have any Irish connections. I actually just dance because I love it, and Riverdance really caught my eye, and I said I had to do it, and I've been doing it ever since.
Arms in, Virginia, arms in.
I actually came over a week early to get used to the time change and to prep myself for the World.
Go for it, Amanda. Come on, up, up.
I think the Irish and the English are really tough, very tough. I mean, obviously this is where the Irish dance started, so they're really good at what they do. And I've actually been over here a few times to train with a school over here, just to kind of get the feel of how the Irish do it, so it actually has helped me a lot. So that's why this year, hopefully I'll do really well.
Competition time is also heating up closer to home. In Manchester, teachers Jonathan and Claire McMurrow tell us their hopes for this year's Worlds and how Irish dancing brought them together.
We had met briefly at the auditions in Riverdance, but we actually joined Riverdance on the same day. And Jonathan was with his friend and they turned up late. I think he'd forgotten his shoes.
Not me.
Yeah, you had to. And I thought that they looked like they were great fun. And we became friends very, very early on. And then we started seeing each other and fell in love. It was great.
We were in the show for 5 years, so we the first tour we did with Riverdance was in America, North America, and we toured there for probably 3 years. We toured in Australia, and then we both were on the Broadway show of Riverdance for 18 months.
Came back here and both started our degrees at Manchester Uni, and started in the dancing class as well, started teaching at the dancing class, so it was full on almost straight away.
The Lally School is probably the biggest school in Manchester. There are quite a few schools. It's mostly actually girls in the school. We do have some boys. When we came home from Riverdance, we did have about probably 8 to 10 lads in our class. They've all gone on to be in shows like Lord of the Dance and Riverdance. There's loads of opportunities for guys in it now, probably a lot more than 10, 15 years ago.
Do anything to keep the boys. If you do that well, I'll give you £1. Constantly.
That doesn't work.
If you do that in time, Kieran, I will give you £1. It does work sometimes. But you do anything to keep the boys on and keep them encouraged. It's great if you can get a group of boys together. It's very hard for a boy to come on his own and sit with the girls, so if you can get 2 or 3 boys and they're coming and meeting together every week, they usually stick at it together, but they're hard to keep hold of.
At the class tonight, the 16 children that are going to the World, they should all be there. They better be there. There's only one week to go, so if they're not there, there'll be trouble.
I think the standard is very high in the Northwest region.
There's feshes every weekend, really, all over the UK. In the Manchester region, there's probably maybe 10 a year. If a child's competitive and they really want to compete, they could definitely go to probably 2 feshes a month if they wanted to. I'm the only male teacher at the Lally School, and in Manchester, really, there's not very many male teachers. It's quite female dominated, I suppose.
3 or 4 males, is there?
Yeah.
You've never fully done your job as an Irish dancing teacher. There's always an extra place to go with it.
Now loud. Over cross it. Stamp, every stamp counts. Come on. Push it, push it!
There's so much to learn just from watching other people and thinking, oh, I could do that with her, and that would really suit such and such a dancer, and you've got so much to learn.
Over, cross, there, push!
We're really looking forward to the World Championships. Apart from the competitive side of it, we get to see lots of people, fellow teachers and fellow adjudicators that we don't see for you know, from one end of the year to the next. And a lot of these people that we do see, we were in Riverdance with or in shows with, and they all left similar to ourselves and went back to wherever they were from and started teaching. So it's a great social event as well as being competitive. It's stressful, but it's enjoyable.
Push all the way now!
Some of our dancers will have really high expectations at the World, and some of them are going to the World Championships for the first time.
Cross, over cross! Good girl. Keep it up now.
You're dealing with all the children and all their parents' expectations as well, so fortunately enough we're blessed by having children who are very realistic about their own expectations.
Still to come, what's the reality for Irish dancers when it comes to making a career for themselves?
We receive emails, you know, every week with dancers looking for work.
When a dancer decides to retire from the competitive world of Irish dance, a number of options are now available if they wish to keep it as part of their future.
One of the main developments from Riverdance and Lord of the Dance was the possibility of Irish dancers to make a professional career out of their art.
When dancers, they work for 15, 20 years to become proficient so they can win their world title, and then they're in their prime at 19 years old and it's all over with. I could never understand that, so this gives them an opportunity to go on and make a little bit of money and enjoy themselves doing what it is that they work so hard to learn how to do.
Before the shows were successful, really anyone who was teaching Irish dancing, they did it as a second job, as a hobby almost, for the love of it. And if they were performing, it was something they did seasonally for the tourists, or visiting heads of state, that type of thing. Again, it wasn't something that could provide a full-time living.
You can do an undergraduate degree in Irish music and dance, which is the same as doing an undergraduate, in that, as in any other graduate, it will qualify you to take on postgraduate diplomas. So it's really good that people can get credit for that. But equally, that opens other career paths in terms of community music and dance, teaching in community arts projects, working in community arts centres. And it's one of the things that we would be very conscious of is to develop, yes, technical skills, but also vocational and academic skills.
The shows have allowed people to work professionally as performers, Irish dance performers, but also because they've increased the want for Irish dance classes, it's possible for people to work now as full-time Irish dance teachers and make a quite a decent living out of it.
Mary McElvoy teaches students all over the country who are preparing to sit their teachers' examinations.
If a dancer is finished dancing and they want to become a dancing teacher, they come to my classes. Change to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, and on you go. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, pace, and right. It's definitely very popular. A lot of the candidates now, they wouldn't all necessarily teach, but they want to get their exam because it makes their dancing career complete. Now you're going to go back in the direction in which you were travelling, okay? The exams take place worldwide. In Dublin and Limerick, Derry, Belfast, depend on which area you want to have it. And then it's in all different parts of England, America, Australia, New Zealand, and Africa, and Europe. They're all over. Now sit down now and I'll give you your notes for that.
Also working in Manchester is New York native Caitlin Kelly. While Caitlin works as an au pair for Jonathan and Claire McMurrow, she also assists their dance classes in preparation for her teachers' examinations.
My family is from Galway and Cork. My dad's in Galway, my mom's family is from Cork. We also have some in Wicklow and Dublin. So I feel really connected with my Irish roots. That's how I got into Irish dancing. My dad was into the music and my sister danced when she was younger. So I'm hoping to open my own school and start making dancing costumes when I get home. Vamonos! What does vamonos mean? I'm hoping to make my mark on Irish dancing in New York. I think that there's a big demand in a place like New York. There's a lot of Irish people, and there's a lot of people who aren't Irish who are just interested in it because it's such a big community, the Irish dance community in New York City.
The exam, for the teacher's exam, it starts on Thursday. It goes for 3 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then for the adjudicators, then they do their adjudicating on Sundays.
There's a written part of the exam and a music part of the exam where you have to recognize the set pieces that we dance to, which to the untrained ear probably all just sounds like diddly diddly dee versus diddly diddly dum. So that's been a little bit of a challenge.
Where else will you find the return chain? In the Morris Reel, very good. If they're from England or other places, America, they don't have to do the oral Irish. But if there was somebody living in America or England and came to live in Ireland and became a dancing teacher, they're given 2 years to study a bit of Irish and they have to do an oral Irish exam. They've an awful lot to learn in the year. There's a lot of studying. This is Órinci Forna. This is the book where they learn all their Céilí dances. There are 30 dances in the whole book.
It's almost like training for a marathon and training for a huge school exam at the same time. There's a very big physical component and there's also a very big academic sort of component.
Some of them could do it in 9 months, other a year, others could take a year and a half.
I was the dancer who would forget their set piece at the Nationals, so I'm just hoping I don't forget my steps.
Another career option available to dancers is to become part of an Irish dancing entertainment group.
DAGSA is very popular now. We receive emails, every week with dancers looking for work. We usually ask for their CV and a headshot, and their dance experience basically will be very important. We also like to use dancers who have other show experience as well in some of the bigger touring companies. We know a lot of the good dancers that are out there in a lot of the dance shows. We also, scout regularly for new dancers coming up through the ranks. We're definitely in demand. We travel quite extensively throughout Europe. This year in particular, we were in 5 consecutive countries at the same time for St. Patrick's Day. So we were East Russia, Brussels, Spain, Norway and Colorado in the USA. Recently we were lucky enough to be invited to perform for the Queen as part of the Chieftains Act in the Convention Centre in Dublin. So we were honoured to be asked to perform with the Chieftains. It was an amazing event. We have a good mix of age groups in Dowsa. Maybe the youngest would be 20, maybe 21, going right up to early 30s. All of the dancers, you know, are professional. They've all got a huge amount of experience under the belt. Some of the dancers would be full-time dancers, and then others would be working in full-time jobs or maybe at college, and they dance basically to pay their way through college. So it's a nice talent to have, you know, to be able to fund your college course.
Although everyone involved in the world of Irish dance holds different hopes for the future, they all share one wish: that Irish dancing continues to prosper and unite nations around the globe for generations to come.
Irish dancing has evolved so much over the last 20 years, both in style, in technique, in athleticism, that it's hard to fathom how much further or how much further afield it can go. But it is very much a living, breathing tradition. So I dare say we will see different developments over the coming decade or two.
I'd love for dance to be a subject for the junior cert and the leaving cert like they have in the UK, and that you can do dance as a general subject but kind of specialise in Irish dance.
I hope that younger, more talented people will come up through the ranks and take it even further. I'm delighted to see that it's become kind of cool to be an Irish dancer. I think that's a nice thing for the guys and the girls that are out there. And I would wish that it would just keep going at the same speed. You know, we've made tremendous gains in the last 15 or 20 years in Irish dancing, and I'd love that to continue.
I would like for Irish dance to be able to maintain the multi-layers that it has, for the people who want to engage in it socially and to enjoy. That's the most important thing. If you love dance, you should be able to do it.
I would love to see the children to enjoy it more and not concentrate too much on the top competition.
On commission, we're talking about maybe bringing in a uniform dress for everyone. Obviously I don't want it to happen, and the kids and the parents that are involved in Irish dancing don't want it to happen, so fingers crossed that won't happen.
We can only hope that the next generation of kids that come up from Eileen or from Pat are just as talented, and that we enjoy the same success in the school, really.
Yeah.
I'm actually hoping to move into other areas with a possibility of moving into China.
For the future, I would just like to see our success continue. I'd like to keep dancers working and have all the dancers continue to enjoy their performances.
I would love to see, myself personally, Irish dancing fusing together with ballet and or jazz and pop and tap dancing.
As long as you can get that continuum and trace your knowledge back to the steps 100 and odd years old, then I think we're justifying and going 100 and odd years forward. And who knows what we'll be doing then. Dancing in Mars will give us the lift, I suppose.
Next week at the Worlds, we meet two girls fighting for the same trophy.
Usually after all that time practicing really hard, I'm just falling apart. You're waiting for something to fall, but I feel really good right now, so it's exciting for tomorrow.
While the both of them battle it out on one stage, Jack's dance comes to a sudden stop on another. Can Claire make it 5 in a row as she dances before the stony-faced judges?
I wouldn't like to be performing today. I wouldn't like to be up on the stage dancing today.
For me, the more I win, the more nervous I get, because the more you win, the more people are expecting you to win.